The pain in my hip was a entitlement, constant throb, a persistent reminder of the surgery 3 weeks prior, 63 years old, an unexpected fall. And now I was tethered to this hospital bed, my body a fragile prison. I watched the fluorescent lights hum, each flicker a silent testament to my vulnerability, my dependence. The room smelled of antiseptic and stale coffee, a scent that had become intimately familiar. My phone, a cheap burner model I'd picked up from a vending machine, buzzed on the nightstand. It was Hartman, my lawyer. His voice, usually clipped and precise, was edged with a peculiar strain. Conrad, we have a problem. A legal filing just landed on my desk. Stalking. A woman named Lydia Vance claims you've been harassing her. I closed my eyes, a heavy, fatalistic sigh escaping my lips. Lydia Vance, my ex-wife, the woman I hadn't seen in over a decade. The absurdity of it was almost comical, if not for the bitter taste of helplessness in my mouth. I was barely able to walk to the bathroom, let alone stalk anyone. What was left to lose? I felt nothing, only a quiet certainty that this was merely the next predictable blow in a life already fractured. The accusations accumulated, a cruel tapestry woven from half-truths and outright fabrications. Photographs emerged, blurry images supposedly of me near Lydia's apartment, at her workplace. Phone records showed numerous calls from a blocked number, leaving voicemails filled with veiled threats. Then came the eyewitnesses, a neighbor who claimed to have seen me lurking in the shadows, a doorman who identified me from a doctored photo. Each piece of evidence, presented with grim convictions, painted a portrait of a man I fundamentally was not. The horror wasn't just in the potential legal repercussions, but in the grotesque distortion of my identity. I was trapped in a hospital bed, my body healing slowly. Painfully, my nurses could attest to my constant presence, my restricted movements. Yet, this other Conrad was apparently roaming the city, a phantom menace. He was younger, stronger, seemingly capable of acts I could only dream of performing, acts of aggression and intimidation that were utterly alien to my nature. The psychological toll was immense. It was as if a doppelganger had stepped into my life, wearing my face, uttering my name, and committing crimes that would irrevocably define me. The world was being convinced that I was someone I wasn't, a stalker, a threat. This wasn't just about my freedom, it was about my very being. Hartman, initially skeptical, began his quiet, meticulous investigation. He reviewed the evidence, cross-referencing dates and times with my hospital records, confirming my alibi. The initial defense was simple, undeniable. I was hospitalized. The deeper truth, however, proved more elusive. The photographs, upon closer inspection, revealed subtle discrepancies. The man in the images, though strikingly similar, was not me. His hairline was slightly different, his gait imperceptibly off. Lydia, it seemed, wasn't fabricating the stalking entirely. She was simply misidentifying her tormentor. The discovery of a man who looked exactly like me sent a cold shiver down my spine. A ghost, not of the past, but of a twisted present. Social media traces led to fake profiles, then to a digital footprint that mimicked my own. Phone number spoofing had been used to make the calls appear to originate from my old, disconnected number. The layers of deception were intricate, deliberate. Lydia's fear was real, but it was being exploited, directed at me. I began to see the true nature of this weaponization of identity. Not a random act, but a calculated effort to ruin my already precarious existence. The question shifted from, who is doing this, to why are they doing this to me? The answers were slow in coming, pieced together from digital crumbs and human frailties, revealing a manipulator with a colder, more personal agenda than simple harassment. The confrontation was brief, stark. Hartman had arranged a meeting in a nondescript conference room at his firm. Lydia was there, flanked by her own lawyer, her face etched with exhaustion and lingering fear. I sat across from her, my posture deliberately calm, my presence a quiet challenge. Hartman laid out the evidence, enlarged photographs of the imposter, clearly demonstrating the subtle physical differences, timelines of my hospitalization, certified by hospital administration and attending physicians. Then came the phone records, the spoofed numbers traced back to a specific burner phone, its recent GPS pings mapping a trail that never intersected with my hospital room. Lydia's lawyer shifted uncomfortably, the air in the room growing heavy with irrefutable truth. Finally, Hartman presented the last piece, a cached social media page, now deleted, belonging to Lydia's new partner, a man named Jeremy. It contained boastful posts about fixing Lydia's past problems, posts that coincided precisely with the onset of the stalking. There was a photo of Jeremy caught at an odd angle, revealing a startling resemblance to me, especially when he wore a hat. He had used my fractured past, my isolation, my legal vulnerability, to eliminate me from Lydia's life completely, framing me from the safety of her unsuspecting fear. The room was silent. Lydia stared at the screen, her expression slowly morphing from accusation to a dawning, terrible understanding. There was no theatrical confession, no dramatic outburst, just the quiet, crushing weight of exposure, the truth settling like dust. The physical recovery from surgery was a slow, arduous climb, each step a battle won. The legal proceedings against Jeremy were swift, the evidence against him undeniable. His motive, a desperate desire to erase my presence from Lydia's life, was laid bare. He received a substantial sentence. Lydia and I never fully reconciled, but a quiet understanding had settled between us. She had been a victim of manipulation, her fear turning her against me. In a small cafe, weeks after the trial, she spoke of the insidious nature of the lies. "He made me believe you were still the same," she said, her voice soft, "that you were still capable of that darkness." I nodded, reflecting on how easily a person's identity could be twisted, how quickly digital shadows could obscure solid truth. Reputation, once tarnished, was a fragile thing. Technology, a double-edged sword capable of both exposing and fabricating. Human endurance, however, proved to be a stubborn, resilient force. The truth had not come quickly, but it had left its indelible trace, a quiet testament that even in the darkest corners of deception, light eventually found its way. I walked out into the sun, feeling the warmth on my skin. The world still had its shadows, but I was no longer lost in them. My name was Conrad. I was myself,